Okay, welcome everyone. First, on behalf of the RYS committee, we want to thank you for your commitment to our Covenant youth. Our youth need to be pointed to Jesus and his word now more than ever. We want to welcome sponsors and youth leaders that have never been to convention before. That should be an exciting call for you. This call is designed to give you a sneak peek of what to expect during the week. And welcome back to those that have been at convention before. We hope this will be beneficial to you as well, as it is Wheaton College for the first time. If you have any questions at any point during this call, please feel free to type them in the chat. So at the top, you should see something that says chat on it, and you can type a question in there. And we have several committee members that are on the call, and we'll either answer these in the moment or we will answer them at the end. And you're going to hear us mention the committee several times during this call, and you may be wondering who the committee is. The committee is made up of 7 volunteer couples and a director, Paul, who you just heard from, and you'll be able to identify us all week on campus by our bright orange RYS shirts. So similar to the color I'm wearing tonight, although this was not planned, we will wear the same shirt every single day. And you'll see us buzzing around campus on golf carts and possibly bikes and scooters this year, which would be new for us. And you can stop us at any time if you have questions. We're there to help you. And if you want to know more about what the committee does, or if you are interested, please reach out to any one of us during the week or directly to Paul, and we can answer those questions for you. All right, so what we're going to walk through is preparing for a convention, what you need to know about arriving on campus, checking in, what your first day is going to look like, Sonrise and Sonset groups. This terminology might be unfamiliar to you if you're new to this call, and Carrie's going to speak more in detail about that in a couple slides. Our day away, and then what our last day looks like. Preparing for convention. It's highly recommended that you have a parent meeting in advance of convention. And you may include your youth as well, but you really should have that meeting with your parents. The dress code and rules were signed at the time of registration, and they were in the welcome letter that everyone received in email last week. If you or your students did not receive that welcome letter, let us know, check your spam file. On the bottom of the screen is our email that you can send an email to. It's rysconvention@gmail.com. So let us know if you did not receive that. We're going to ask that you police the dress code with your students each day. You should see them at breakfast and at the start of each day. If your students are out of dress code, they need to be sent back to their dorm room to change. We would rather you have the conversation with your students than have a committee member have the conversation, which could be uncomfortable for both us and the student. Please remember that the dress code applies to sponsors as well. And should you need to address either the dress code or rules during the week of convention, we also have RYS board members that will be present, and we can direct you to them as well. Waivers. This past week, everyone received an email with 2 waivers that need to be electronically signed. So this is something that's new to us. It's something that Wheaton is requiring. So again, if you didn't see those waivers, if you didn't see that email, check your spam and let us know at rysconvention@gmail.com, and we'll make sure we get those to you. They have to be, both of them have to be signed by everyone, and anyone under the age of 18 needs to have their parents sign them as well. And if you can get these back to us as soon as possible. If these aren't signed before, probably 2 weeks before convention, our committee members are going to start making those calls to make sure we get those signed before your students leave. So you're going to hear us say this a few times during this call. Wheaton College and Six Flags do not accept cash, and that also was in the welcome letter. Please make sure your youth plan appropriately for this. We know a lot of times parents are just handing cash to their students. It's not going to be any good at Wheaton, and it's not going to be any good at Six Flags, and you're probably going to have students that are disappointed in this. And just a plug for Wheaton, they have, it's a coffee ice cream snack shop. It's called Sam's, and it's pretty awesome. If you've ever been at convention where they've had a coffee shop, there are always long lines at the coffee shop. So please make sure your students are planning accordingly for that. And then we humbly ask that you pray in advance for all attending youth, sponsors, speakers, committee members, and the Wheaton staff. We just please pray to prepare hearts and for safety for everyone and for a week that just glorifies God. So when you arrive on campus, per our contract with Wheaton, we can't check any groups in before 1 p.m. So we're asking you don't arrive before 1 p.m. Check-in is 1 to 5 Central Daylight Savings Time. If your group will be arriving after 5 p.m., so normally at 5 p.m., the committee has other tasks that we need to start running. If you're arriving after 5, please email us in advance if possible to rysconvention@gmail.com. And everyone is going to have dinner between the hours of 5 to 7 before we start our nighttime activities. And when you arrive on campus, you can put this in your navigation devices or in your phone. Type in Edmond Memorial Chapel, and there's a lot there. And it's on the corner of Washington Street and Jefferson. So everyone can either unload your things there, or we can direct you to specific dorms. And at that time, if you have vehicles that are going to stay on campus for the week, we will let you know where you're going to park for the week. So this one's a big one. As written in the rules, all cell phones and electronic devices are to be collected at the time of arrival. This should also be covered in that parent meeting. Students should prepare in advance to bring a watch, can't be a smartwatch, and an alarm clock. Parents should be given sponsors' phone numbers should an emergency arise at home. And I think Carrie has something pretty cool that she found. Carrie, if you can maybe put that link in the chat. Carrie isn't able to hold it up and show it. We couldn't get her camera to come on. So she might put something in the chat that's pretty neat that some of you might want to invest in. If we see any of these devices out during the week, we're going to collect them. So please remind your students that this is a great opportunity to unplug and just enjoy the fellowship of believers and make new friends. It's not very often that you're on campus with such a great group of believers at the same time. So we really want them to take advantage of that and not be in their rooms on their phones. And these friendships are going to last them for many years to come. And I think you'll be surprised at how many students don't even miss them. They might miss them the first night, but they usually don't miss them as the week goes on. So if you're new, a lot of groups will bring Ziploc bags with students' names on them for their devices to be stored in. And then sponsors, you'll keep these in your room for the week. You'll turn off the phones, and then you might think about charging them maybe midweek because you can hand them back out on Friday morning so they can take pictures, they can exchange numbers with friends. They just can't be out during main session on Friday morning. And those bags are something you can easily prepare in advance. So as they're getting off the buses, getting out of the cars, they can just plop them in those bags. And sponsors, while we appreciate you being willing to spend a week with us at convention, we really could not do it without you. However, if you feel the need to be on your phone, we know you have families at home, we know you're leaving work at home, you're spending a week with us, please try to do it discreetly out of the sight of the students. Please do not be on your phones during sessions, workshops, or the talent show. And I'll just be transparent. There were quite a few phones on during the talent show last year, and our youth noticed it, and we had many comments come back on the surveys as a result of it. So let's just be good role models for our youth. If you need to be on your phone, please leave the workshop, leave the talent show, and take care of your business as necessary. And again, we really appreciate the time that you are spending on campus with us. Dress code starts at 1 p.m. on the first day. So students need to be dress code compliant as they're walking around campus on arrival. When you get off the buses, you'll be directed towards registration area, and we're asking that you just bring 2 sponsors to enter the registration area. And at registration, you're going to receive a packet of information that you're going to hand out to your students, and it's going to contain everything you need to know for your week on campus. And we're going to go through that in the next few slides. And once you're on campus, everyone stays on campus for the week. Checking in. So when you come into registration, like I said, you're going to receive a packet of information. The first thing that you're going to see in there is a bunch of these booklets. It's our RYS convention booklet. This one was from 2 years ago. And this booklet has everything you're going to need to know for the week. And we're going to show you some of that. It's going to have the rules in there. It's going to give some safety tips, information about the talent show and choir. It has a map of the campus, all the workshops and where they're located, the schedule, and devotions in the back. So everyone needs to hang on to these for the week and follow them as you're walking around campus. You're going to receive badges with lanyards. So here is an example of a lanyard, a sponsor lanyard. That was my husband's. White lanyards are for sponsors, and we're going to cover this in a minute. You're going to see in the booklet, there's designated times for lunch and breakfast and dinner by colored lanyards. The white lanyards means you're a sponsor. You can get in whatever time you want to get in. So that's why we have white for the sponsors. And then there'll be orange and blue lanyards in your registration packet, and you're going to divide those out for your students. And then you'll have badges that you're going to attach to those lanyards and also keys. And we're going to cover all this with you as you check in, so you don't need to absorb all this right now. Keys for the dorms this year are something a little different. It's going to be a key card similar to like a hotel room key. So something that you tap or slide into the door. And the keys are only going to allow you into the dorm that you are rooming in and the floor and wing of your assigned dorm room. So if I am on floor 2 and I have a friend on floor 4, I can't get on floor 4. My key only allows me on the floor that I'm on. So that is something different this year. It's just a safety issue that is a requirement of Wheaton. Wheaton will have staff in the lobby of each dorm every single day from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. So they're there to address things like key issues or a student being locked out of a room. And the committee will have master keys in any building that we're contracted in for the week. We will be able to access those buildings and those rooms, dorm rooms, classrooms, whatever they are. Any sweatshirts or hats that your students pre-purchase, we're going to give you a bag and you can pass those out. Your volunteer assignments. So if you're new this year, we're going to talk about volunteer assignments in just a few minutes. We ask that everyone volunteer for areas that we need help in according to your preference. Convention surveys. So I've kind of mentioned this already. We have convention surveys that we normally hand out later in the week, but this year we're going to give them to you in your registration packet. And we ask that you hold them to the Sonset group on Thursday. And these surveys allow you to give input on anything you attend for the week. So main sessions, workshops, food, day away, music. And we also encourage you to write any thoughts you have at the end of the week as well. There's a whole backside that you can give us your input on everything. And yes, we do read each and every survey. There'll be almost all 980 of them this year. And we consider any changes for the following year. And those will be turned in the cafeteria on our last day. Again, if you're new to convention, this may sound very overwhelming to you, but we're just trying to prepare you for kind of how the week is going to go. Okay, so here is a sample of the badge that you get. So it's going to have your name on it, your church, your city and state. It will have what dorm you're in and what room you're in, and then your selection for your day away. And those selections cannot be changed at this point. So tickets have been purchased, they're printed on the name badges. We can't make any changes. There is the workshops that you signed up for and you have been assigned. So it will tell you what the workshop number is, and that will correlate with the way they're listed in the schedule, what the workshop name is, the speaker, and the building and room number. And attendance is mandatory at every workshop, and we do take attendance. So if there is a student missing from a workshop, the committee goes out and they look for that student. So we want to make sure they are safe. And if we cannot find that student, we will reach out to the sponsors assigned to that student and get you involved at that time. And we'll do the same if there's issues with a student during the week, whether they get sick, they get injured, or even if they're out of their rooms at night, we will get a hold of you. So those are the badges. Okay, on your first day, after checking in and moving to the dorms, there's time to get acclimated with campus and just have free time. We'll have outdoor games, indoor games, walk around campus, get familiar with where everything is. And then this is the only time besides Friday that everyone will have dinner, I think, at the same time. We'll have a welcome session, and then we'll jump right into a main session. And right after that, we're going to ask all sponsors and speakers to stay right there, or we'll direct you if you're a speaker, you might go to a different room. But you're going to stay right there, and we are going to cover anything important that you need to know. So any important announcements specific to you. And then you'll see from 9:30 to 10:15, we have free time and snack. That happens every night where we have free time and a snack. And that's just a great and fun way to end the night. As I mentioned before, Carrie's going to mention Sonset groups. And then at 11:30, it's in rooms and nightly room checks. What are nightly room checks? Students will be told on Monday night that they need to leave a single shoe in the door and to have the door propped open. A same gender volunteer or a committee member will check to see that each student is in their dorm room at this time. They don't need to be in their bed. They don't need to have their lights out, but they do need to be in their room for the night. So not in a shower or in a friend's room, but in their room. And then sponsors will not be disturbed for nightly room checks. So when you arrive in your dorm room, you'll notice there's colored papers on every door that will say who is in that room. The sponsors will have a color different from the students. And the reason we do that is not only so we know where the sponsors are, but the students know where the sponsors are. So if something happens in the middle of the night and they need to get a hold of someone, they know that they can knock on a sponsor's door and get help that way. And we also have a master list of where everyone is on campus. And then again, just to note, all sessions, workshops, and the talent show are mandatory for everyone. Here's a sample of the schedule for this year's convention. At the top, you're going to see there's just some different free time options in case students don't know what's available other than what's listed specifically on the schedule. Here are the hours for Sam's Cafe. We have tried to prepare Wheaton for how busy this is going to be. Last year, George Fox told us they made more in the 1 week we were there than they did all summer on campus. So, and don't worry, we've also warned the cafeteria staff about the large amounts of coffee this group goes through. Every campus is always amazed at the end of the week how much coffee we go through. So that's something our food committee really stresses. And you'll have early morning options for either the cafeteria or Sam's Cafe to get your coffee, and those are all listed in the booklet. We've already talked through Monday, so let's look at the Tuesday schedule. You'll see at 6:45 a.m., we're going to start with a 5K practice run. So anyone that wants to do the official run, we are going to have a practice run. And then next you're going to see where those lanyard colors start coming in. But from 7 to 7:45, if you have an orange lanyard, you can go to breakfast. Blue has to wait till later breakfast. The next day on Wednesday, it's going to be reversed. So blue will go first, orange will go second. And then this is where the tournament signups will be. So we know a lot of students like to play in those tournaments. They will sign up at breakfast and they need to have their team name ready when they sign up. Then we go into those Sonrise groups, into session. We have choir practice. And then lunch again is by those lanyard colors. We have workshops 1 and 2. And then you're going to see these chunks of free time. At 3:30 to 6, we have free time, but also during that time, there's a cornhole tournament, there's pool hours, and there's volleyball tournaments that start. Then we go into dinner and another workshop, and then there's another chunk of free time. You can participate in tournaments. You don't have to. There's other things you can do on campus. This is when the talent show auditions will be. And there will be singing with Brent, Matt, and Julie. So there's lots of things to do during free time outside of the games and things that we'll have out, but you can choose to do what you want. And then again, we end with snack, sunset groups, and those night checks. So that's the way the schedule plays out for every day of the week. That's where that booklet comes in handy. We also have the map in the book, and what is color-coded in the map as white is the buildings that we have contracted. The girls are in one dorm, and that's Fisher Hall, so that's up here in the top right. And then we have 3 boys' dorms that we're using. So we have Smith and Kraber Hall, and then we have Evans Hall over here. If you selected your spouse as a roommate, you will be rooming with your spouse. Married couples will be split between the girls' and boys' dorms. And we do have sponsor coverage on each dorm floor and wing. So there are at least 2 separate rooms, a minimum of 4 adults on each section and floor. And usually we place those at both ends of the wing or the dorm. So we're consistent where sponsors are, and the students are kind of enclosed by those sponsors. Should an emergency arise in the middle of the night, those students will also know which doors they can knock on. And on the first night of the sponsor speaker meeting, we're going to share a phone number that you can use for emergencies. It will be carried by someone on the committee. And again, those dorms are staffed by Wheaton all during the day up until 10 o'clock. So this number really should be for emergencies only. Any other questions, you can find one of us in an orange shirt throughout the day and go ahead and ask us any question. We're always pulling around campus. So I'm going to turn it over to Carrie, and she is going to go through Sonrise and Sunset groups.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, great. So Sonrise groups, they meet every morning at a time designated in the booklets. There it is. It's always after breakfast, and it always lasts a half hour. The assignments will be taped to each dorm door with the first meeting place, and you may move your group to a different location for the remainder of the week. So the 2 sponsors, you will have it taped to your door, and then the meeting place is typically your room, and then the girls will know where to gather. But then you can find a more comfy place if you'd like. Groups of same gender sponsors and students, and then you open and close with prayer, and you cover devotions included in the booklet, and the devotions will be emailed to sponsors prior to convention, and it's mandatory for all sponsors and students. I wanted to go back to a couple notes about that. The devotions are included in the booklet, and we do strongly encourage that you use what the pastors have prepared. And also another thing to mention is it's a nice thing to be able to rotate every other day with the other sponsor that you're working with. The first day, I think we have a sample coming up here for Wednesday, but Tuesday, the first day, is usually just kind of a meet and greet. So it's not very difficult. You don't really have to prepare a lot for that. So the 2 sponsors can work together on that. But then I think it's wise to talk to your fellow sponsor and talk about who's going to take what day. It just breaks things up a little bit, and it's not too much prep work for either of you. It just worked well for me when I was a sponsor. Well, then we can talk about sunset groups, unless someone has a question about Sonrise. Okay. How many students are in the Sonrise groups? It's usually 10 to 12, Amy?
We try to hold it to 8, but there's times where it could be 6, it could be 10 at the most.
Okay, thank you. Sunset groups. These you meet each evening with your own group that you came with. Your group chooses the location. That is always after the evening snack time. The key point for that meeting, well, first you open and close with prayer, but the key point is to discuss each student's day and how it went. I know my husband and I, when we were sponsors, we tried really hard to just find a key point through the day in one of the main sessions or one of the workshops, just a talking point to get the kids to talk, just to share what they learned that day. We also just had a lot of fun with them at that time, a lot of time in prayer, took prayer requests. I brought candy. They always liked that. It's just a great time to just reconnect with your students again and just tell them, go through the book and talk about what the next day's events look like in case any of them have questions. Please respectfully have your students back to their dorms by night checks times designated in the booklet. So sunset usually ends at 11 and they need to be in their rooms, like Amy mentioned, at 11:30. So it'd be very helpful if they can be dismissed on time. But if they do get dismissed early, just please be respectful of the other groups that may still be meeting. Don't let your kids run around and be really loud and disrespectful because they could be praying. I see a question up here. Will only the coded buildings on the map be available for sunset groups? Do you have an answer for that, Amy?
I think that is yet to be determined which buildings we're gonna have
Yeah,
additional buildings open, but
so I can kind of answer that. Wheaton, they have a computer system that allows for doors to be open and shut. We are still working on getting a list of sunset locations that are indoors. They're really encouraging us to be outdoors. And then just for some of the groups that are going to have a little bit of a harder time because they are bigger, we're going to try to sort of give suggested places for them. So that is a work in progress, and we hope to have more info on that out.
Thank you, Amy and Paul. Then the note at the end there, at the beginning of sunset groups, all of the yard games will be put away for the night. It sounded like they had a little bit of trouble with that last year. So just make sure that you tell your students that the games are going to be put away and so that we can get ready to do bed checks. All right, we're going to look at the Sonrise group sample. And like we talked about, you will find these on your doors when you get there. Sonrise meets Tuesday through Friday mornings, and we mentioned that they're a half hour long. Please pay attention to the meeting times listed in your booklet, as times can change every day. They're different half hour. The first two people listed are the group leaders, followed by the students. So you'll see Rebecca East and Meredith West. They are the two group leaders, and the students are below. And typically we try to keep them all they're all like roomed close by each other. You see these girls are in rooms very close to each other. It's very important on Tuesday to initially meet at the room Fisher 354, which says right next to Rebecca East and Meredith West. And then you guys can decide where you want to go from there. For students, Sonrise group is mandatory, so we like them to be prompt, and the leaders must show up too. The rooms for each student are listed for your convenience in case they don't show up and you can't find them. I always like to get there just a little bit early just because some of the girls actually like to come and just have that safe place where they can have someone to talk to in case they're wandering around by themselves or they feel lost or homesick or don't feel well. It was always just a really nice place to just have some time with them and even pray with them if you needed to. You don't have to, it's just a suggestion. Then it says groups will be taped on the outside of each dorm room door upon arrival, which we already talked about. So we'll go on to devotion samples. This is an example of for Wednesday, like I had mentioned. Tuesday is usually there's questions and stuff on there, but it's more like ask your students where they live or just ask students questions. So this is basic. You have a psalm for this week, the text, and then it just gives you some stuff you can talk about, gives you some questions you can look through. We will be sending these out, and I think that's in one of the next slides beforehand, and so that you can get them ahead and prepare beforehand too. So even if your co-sponsor does have that the next day, you can always have something that you want to add to in case there's an awkward silence. Okay, we can go on to day away. The day away starts with breakfast, Sonrise groups, and a main session. So the confusing part for anyone who's new might be what's going on with all these t-shirts that everyone wears that match. So you'll hand those out at your Tuesday evening sunset group. We will announce something at one of the sessions and we will announce where you can go get your t-shirts, and then we'll have them all separated so you can just pick up your group's t-shirts and then you just bring them to sunset group and everybody gets their shirt, and then you tell them wear them tomorrow when you come to breakfast and Sonrise groups and main session. So they have to wear it the whole day. So have them, this is very important, have them come to the main session ready to leave for the day away. So there will be no time to go back to the dorm. If they say, oh, I want to grab my bathing suit or I want to grab my put my Bible back or whatever they need to get. They can't do that. They need to take everything with them to the main session. A lot of times we would just leave our Bibles and our pens and our little notebooks right there in the auditorium under your seat, and you can pick them up later. It's a very safe place. There's free time from 7 to 10 that night, or you can come back and pick them up right after you get off the buses too, if they're worried about it. So if they do pick Hurricane Harbor and they do want to wear their bathing suits, they should put those on under their clothes. And one little thing that I want to just just go down and look at is guys can wear swim shorts to the main session, but they have to follow dress code. They have to be loose fitting and at least 5 inches. And of course, the girls obviously have to follow dress code as well, but they would probably wear shorts and a t-shirt over their suit. Everyone will be dismissed to their buses by their church group. So I attended Cornerstone URC. When they had our name show up on the screen, it showed us what bus we had to go to, and we just took off and went to our bus. And we were very well explained that day when we were in the main session. Dress code does apply on the bus as well. And we did have a question in the chat, and they have their phones back for the day away to take pictures. And no, they don't get their phones back for that day. And they did put in the comments that a lot of churches would actually get those disposable cameras. So, or you as a leader can take pictures for them. Like we talked about, we don't encourage our leaders to have their phones out a lot, but like for pictures like that, I think that's a great thing to do, and you can share it with them or with their parents or however you want to do that.
Yeah, if you want to take pictures of your group during the week, you can definitely pull out your phone and take pictures of your group. So we do allow that.
Yeah. Another little fun thing, I guess that's just a side note, is when we were sponsors, we had like a church Facebook page, and we would try to post pictures to that every night. It was just like a recap of what we had done through the day so people at the church could see, so parents could see their kids. We also used just an app that we had where all the parents were on, and it's called Band app. All the parents are on there. So like if your flights were delayed, which you don't have flights this year, maybe not all of you, you could just send one message and all the parents would get it. And you could just send an update of how the day went. You can send pictures, and then the parents can save them from there. So that worked really well. It's Band, BAND. Again, Six Flags does not accept cash. We were talking about no one accepts cash. Six Flags does not as well. And they do not allow any outside food or drink to be brought in. I did look it up, and you can bring empty water bottles just like at an airport. So if people like to have their water bottles, they definitely can bring them in, but they want them to be empty. Everyone will receive a food, drink, snack voucher that can be used at the time of their choosing at the venue of their choosing at the day away. So that will be their lunch or their snack or whatever they want. Dinner will be served when we get back on campus, and that's from 5:30 to 7. All right. Unless anyone has questions about that, we'll move on to the talent show.
Yes, so we are kind of doing a couple of new things this year for the talent show. As always, behind the scenes when the talent show is going on, it gets very difficult to keep things running smooth. So we're trying to do as much prep ahead of time as possible. We'd like to encourage our youth groups to be creative with their talent. We love a wide variety of talents to kind of take the stage. And we would even encourage leaders to kind of like, if you guys want to do something as a youth group together, that would almost be even better. We've been dealing with a lot of just, guidelines that we have to have, where we have to unfortunately say your act cannot be done because it's breaking our guidelines. And most often the case, it's more along the lines of they use music that isn't God honoring or appropriate. So we want to kind of get an idea of what your students want to do ahead of time so that it isn't chaos during the week. So as you can see here, we have an email called the talentshowrys@gmail.com email. If you are using any sort of audio or video or anything along those lines of media, you have to have that sent to that email before convention. We're not going to really work with you if you bring it to the convention. Wheaton's tech is complicated, and it's going to delay the process of getting everyone approved and going through all the different acts if we are having to shut everything down just to figure out how to get your media connected to Wheaton speakers. So if you could please remind your students, if they would like to do an act, they need to send it to talentshowrys@gmail.com. You can actually submit your audition early as well. We would really encourage that, just so that we can actually start approving or even just replying back and saying, hey, if you can change this, then your act will be appropriate and we won't have to have just a sudden a no answer at the convention. So that way students can kind of verify that their act is in good order and that we can allow them to do it. So I would really encourage you guys to get your students to submit their talent show acts ahead of time. I will say that we would still like for everyone to show up to the audition. They don't have to re-audition again, but we would like to actually see what they are wearing to the audition at convention. So even if you did get everything approved ahead of time, just quickly show up. We'll run you through to make sure that your outfit is appropriate for the stage, and then we'll let you go. If your student does not submit an audition before convention, they will have to attend the convention talent show audition. It is on the schedule. Make sure they keep an eye on that. If they do not audition, period, their act will not be shown. And then obviously the choir is a wonderful opportunity for everyone to be a part of, or for people who love to sing and are passionate about it. In order to participate, they need to be at the rehearsal, and all the times for the rehearsal are listed in the booklet. We are also going to stress heavily that if you are not in the practices or the rehearsals, you are not allowed to come up during the final singing show, or really you have to be a part of the choir in order to be up there. Are there any questions regarding the talent show?
Like we have a question, how will students know if they've been approved to perform in the talent show? I think that question is if they were emailing talentshow@rys@gmail.com, then we would respond to that.
Yeah, again, we can't approve people before conventions. We're not really sure how many auditions we're going to get. If we get a ton of submissions, we're going to have to cut some acts. So I can't say yes until we actually, as a committee, sit down at the convention to approve or not approve. To answer the question that was just put up, we will have a sheet of paper that says these are all the approved people, and that'll happen during the convention. And we'll make an announcement of that and where kids can go to see that list of approved talents. We also want to stress that the talent show auditions will be closed to audience members. The only people that can be in the auditorium when we are doing the talent show auditions are people that are actually auditioning. That way we can kind of lower the chaos and be able to work through things on our end. That is all I had for that. Are there any other questions regarding the talent show? Again, just try to encourage your kids to submit their acts ahead of time. And then even just if there is involvement with leaders, as far as the talent show, you can kind of say, hey, this song that you have paired or this song you're singing is probably not appropriate in a church setting. You could maybe, let them know ahead of time too. And if you guys want to do something fun as a group, absolutely. I think that would be a really fun way of kind of diversifying the talents that we get to see each year.
Okay, thanks, Paul. So we go on to last day then. 7 to 8 is breakfast and the survey return. So the survey that you will get, Amy, when do they get the survey again?
In the registration packet this year.
Thank you. There will be a spot for you to return them in the cafeteria. 7 to 8 is checkout, and again, your key return, but you return the keys in the dorm lobby. So right where you are, they just will have a box for them right in their dorms. 8:15 to 8:45, you have your Sonrise groups again. And then 9 to 10:30 is the big final session, which is a lot of fun. And we have a reveal at 10:30 of where it's going to be next year. And then we have a farewell. 11 to 1 is lunch, and then we depart for home. And we have to be off campus at 1. Any questions about that? What if student sponsors don't remember what day or where they have been assigned to?
It'll be on your name badge.
And
and if you need to know in advance, whoever is your assigned group leader that has access to RYS, it should be on that site. And Paul, was it on the invoices at all or no?
Correct. I'm pretty sure it was on the invoices. And if any head leader needs kind of a step-by-step explanation on how to check to see what students are going to what, just email rysdirector@gmail.com. I can kind of shoot you a tutorial on how to do that and how to check all your students and their assigned day away options.
And where you leave your stuff, we've asked that Wheaton, if they can be left in the locked lobbies, and you can leave everything in the lobbies of the dorms, and Wheaton staff will be able to let you in based on your lanyard back into those dorms, and then you can collect your belongings from there. And that's That's kind of standard what we do for most years at convention.
It was really helpful when I was a sponsor. I went down there pretty early in the morning, put a piece of paper and just wrote like my church's name on it. So my kids knew where to put their stuff. And it's got to be a pretty big area, and because you don't want other churches putting their stuff by your stuff, because then everyone gets confused and it can be kind of a mess. So that worked really well for us. Okay, so let's move on to some miscellaneous. The dorms are air conditioned, and we've been told they can be pretty chilly. So the light blankets that are provided in the packets, they might not be warm enough. So you may want your students to bring an additional blanket. They get their phones back. There was a question. Yes, they do get their phones back on Friday morning. We would usually meet our students in the cafeteria. My husband and I would make sure that we were there right away when breakfast started, and we would just sit in the same spot we always sat in, and they knew where to find us. What other linens are provided? Amy, do you want to say what linens are provided? That's in the
I
chat.
think that's in the welcome letter too.
Yeah, so they'll have a pillow there. They get a pillowcase, a flat sheet, a fitted sheet, a light blanket, a bath towel, a hand towel, and a washcloth. And those will be on everyone's bed, all wrapped in a package.
Thank you. The boys' dorms have communal bathrooms. For married sponsors who are in these dorms, there will be designated women's only bathrooms available. Wheaton is an open campus, which means the community is allowed on campus. Students will not want to leave any personal belongings laying around, and they need to wear their lanyards at all times. Security on site is on site 24/7. The campus has quite a bit of construction going on, but we're going to be really flexible and respectful of these areas. So we encourage you to encourage your students of that as well. And as we mentioned before, there is an indoor pool on campus, and the swimsuit dress code does apply, which is on the forms that they signed when they filled out registration. I see a question. Does each room have temperature control, and will the bookstore be open?
Each room does not have temperature control. It's controlled as a dorm, which is why they say that the rooms can be chilly, because you cannot adjust that.
I don't know about the bookstore. Yes, Sarah said yes, it will be open as listed in the booklet. Thank you. Okay, so back over to volunteer signups. Looks like the next one. An email will be sent out shortly asking sponsors to sign up for 2 areas of interest. As we mentioned before, we have over 300 volunteer roles to fill, and we need your help. If you do not sign up with your preference, we may assign a role to you, and you will be notified of what roles you have when you get your registration packet on Monday. Don't worry, they're all really fun. The child safety training, that's going to be coming up. We need you to complete this child safety training that will be emailed to you shortly. Please complete by the deadline listed in the email. It's a training video with a short quiz at the end, and it should take approximately 30 minutes to complete. All speakers, sponsors, musicians, and committee members must complete this before being allowed to check in at convention. So that should be coming out this week, so check your inboxes for that. If you don't see it, maybe check spam or wait a couple days. And then if you still don't see it by the end of this week, then please email us at rysconvention@gmail.com and let us know you didn't receive one, so that you don't have to mess with it when you get there on Monday morning.
And I know there was quite a few people that joined a little bit late that I let in because you didn't hear this at the beginning or might have missed some things. We have recorded the session, so this will be sent out to all sponsors. So whether you were on the call or there's people that weren't able to join the call, they will have this that they can go through it as well. And we'll have questions and answers that we've had during this call. We'll have a Q&A at the end, and we'll list all those for you.
Okay. That sums up what I'm going to talk about. If anyone has any questions, please put them in the chat and we will do our best to answer them.
We do not have a tennis or pickleball tournament.
With the explosion of that sport, would you consider it in the future? Are there courts there that the kids can play even if there's no organized tournament?
We have to see if there's access to it. We have discussed the interest of pickleball. I'm going to take a note on that and then maybe push Wheaton on that one last time.
Especially for Midwest kids who are driving, it's not a big deal to grab a racket, probably. As sponsors, we could bring a bunch of balls if we know there's interest.
I will check in on that.
Thanks.
Is there anything else? Any questions? If not, we appreciate your time joining. We hope this is beneficial to you. Again, I know we threw a lot at you, but we wanted to prepare you for convention as much as we could and allow you the time to ask any questions. And if you think of anything after this call, go ahead and email that rysconvention@gmail.com and we will get back to you.
Couple more questions here. Yes to Victor. We do have a Cube yard game set that we will be bringing. I will be taking this recording and I will be uploading it to YouTube edited. So you just keep an eye out on the Facebook page. We're going to kind of post a link to that, or you can just check our YouTube as well.
Pillows are included.
Yes. Welcome letter said, no.
Didn't say pillows.
Nope, it says pillowcase. We'll maybe have to ask that one quickly.
It was listed in their guide that they provide a
Yep.
pillow, but we'll follow up with that and we'll put it in the Q&A in the back, just to be clear. We'll follow up with Wheaton on that. Okay, I guess that's it. Thank you, everyone. See you in a month.
Bye.
See you.